Alright, Shalom. Shalom. First and foremost, this is your brother Issachar coming back at you with another lesson. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makrak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect and the 144,000 scattered across the four corners of the earth. Shalom to you. Alright, today's lesson, we're going to go into a civil war. Okay, so how there's going to be a great civil war here in America. Oh, absolutely. Alright, Isaiah chapter 19, verse 1. The burden of Egypt. Behold, the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Right, so right here, from the top, okay, the burden, okay, because it's going to be a burden, okay, the burden of Egypt, meaning America. Alright, so because great sorrows, financial problems are going to be coming here, such as the FRNs, the American dollar bill, which is the world reserve currency, is going to collapse. So it's been a long time where, people have dealt with these FRNs, so it's going to be a major change out here. Just that right there in itself is going to be a major change out here. This, and then not only that, a change with the currency, all right, but wars, because you're gonna have actual war happening, urban warfare, as they call it, okay, happening right here on American soil, okay, on these cities, on these main cities like Seattle, Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, Dallas. All these cities, major cities, are going to be complete war zones real soon. Isaiah chapter 19 verse 1. The burden of Egypt. So America, the burden. Behold, the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai rideth upon a swift cloud. Talking about the so-called UFOs. The Lord. That's talking about Yahweh Shai. Okay, so our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, the Most High, the Supreme Being, alright, He's going to send His Son, Yahweh Shai, down here on a swift cloud, alright? So He's not going to be riding on a cloud like, remember like little Goku in Dragon Ball Z? Alright, no, He's going to be on a so-called UFO, okay, a so-called UAP. And check this out, you guys. Yahweh Shai, He's so mad, He can't wait to, to get it in over here, that when He gets here, he's going to be standing on top of the ship. He's not even going to be inside. When He arrives, He's going to be standing on top of the spaceship, because that's how much He can't wait. The Yahweh Shai, He can't wait to go to war with these 2/3 of the wicked of our people and the heathen. Okay, the Lord can't wait to slay them. And we're talking big time. Yahweh Shai can't wait. And shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at His presence. See that? So the idols of Egypt shall be moved at His presence, right? Because right now, the Yahweh Shai, He's not even here yet, and people are freaking out, because they see the ships. They're like, dang, NASA, the Space Force, the International Space Station. Okay, they see those ships, because Esau and the heathen, of the elites, all these secret societies, these top Masons and stuff, because they have top telescopes up there, with their satellites, what I'm saying? Because Esau, he can't pass the Van Halen belts, but they could go. The Lord does allow them to go so far up there. But up there they have their space stations and their satellites, with real good telescopes and stuff like that. So they see the ships, in detail, and they're freaking out, they're freaking out, because they see them, you know, and they see some that are, planet size, they're that big, ladies and gentlemen. The ships are that big. Remember, and there's not just one. There's not just one that, okay, they have one, one big ship. No, there's a lot. There's many. You can't even count them. And the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Okay, right, because the heart, and that's exactly what's happening right now. All right, this is very important. And the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it, because the foundation of America is crumbling, it's failing. Because you can see right now it's American versus American. You got even the so-called white man talking shit about the so-called white man. Excuse my Italian, because you got Americans who truly hate other Americans just because they're Democrats. They really hate each other. So that right there is already division. Okay, then you imagine everybody else who's in here, UN troops, Hamites, you name it, Russians, Iran, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's in here. See that? So you have major, division here. Verse 2, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. Okay, so that's American versus American. Key word, and I. Right here, Isaiah chapter 19, verse 2, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. So who's doing it? Okay, the elites are orchestrating, chaos, but who's controlling them? The Lord. See, the Lord saying, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. So the Lord's going to make these Americans fight each other. Okay, just like the so-called white man strategically used a war tactic called divide and conquer with the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, by making us, they put, drugs in our communities and, gangs, that way, our people can, kill each other and fight each other, Now the Lord is having, now he's doing that to them, to our enemies, right before our eyes, because you have these Americans who are upset with each other, like on a small level, but then you have the, then you have the wars, okay, because then you have outside of here, and not to go off subject, but just to speak on it real fast, you have the wars that's going on between, Russia, NATO, America, okay, Taiwan, China. You have all these wars going on, but at the end of the day, who is that? Okay, who is it at each other's throat? Who's the ones, bombing the crap out of each other, and pointing ICBMs at each other, telling each other you better not, if you jump, we'll jump. Who's saying that? Is it the Israelites? It ain't us. It's our enemies. Our enemies are literally destroying each other right before our eyes, and all we gotta do is watch, and we're watching it, and we're loving it, because who's bombing the crap out of each other? It's our enemies, United States, Hamas, Yemen, those are all heathens. You have some Israelites in the American military, but who is the main ones controlling, American military? So-called white man. All right, so and yeah, you got Jakes, you got Jakes who are Israelites, who are sergeants and generals and stuff like that. But who's the main one calling the shots? Don't even start. Okay, who's the main one? All right, it's the so-called white man. You see? So at the end of the day, it's our enemies who are literally going neck to neck with each other. You know what I'm saying? We can care less. We can care less if America bombs the crap out of Russia or vice versa. It makes no difference to us, because this is not our kingdom. Remember, the Israelites, the southern kingdom, we were brought over here forcefully in slave ships. You know what I'm saying? And look at how much the so-called black men have suffered over here in America since being over here in those ships. Have suffered, what this world calls racism. Because racism means that you're for your own kind. So they had to suffer like prejudice. But Because people were prejudiced. People were hateful towards the so-called black men and black women. They have it the worst. Okay, because I don't care what anyone says. Because the so-called blacks, Latino, Native American, we all get treated like crap in America. But the head tribes, the so-called blacks, they suffer the worst. Okay, they get it the worst, but it's because they're the head tribes. Okay, our Lord is the so-called black man. Okay, you see. So let's continue on. Isaiah chapter 19 verse 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, American versus American. Here we go. And they shall fight everyone against his brother. See, so it's going to get very nasty out here. It's going to get very cutthroat, very medieval out here in a big way. Okay? And everyone against his neighbor. So right there, let's stop right there. Everyone against his brother. So brother against brother, brother against sister, mother against father, father against daughter. It's going to be like that. Auntie versus nephews, cousins versus cousins. It's going to get that bad out here. Very bad. Why? Because remember, the New World Order, they have executive orders, legislatives, and draconian laws. So a lot of people are going to soon start pointing fingers, especially when they make that chip mandatory, okay, which is the MOTB. Many family members are going to turn on one another, and not only just because, but because of fear. Because once there's soldiers on the ground, putting a gun to your head, family members are going to turn family members in to authorities real soon. It's just the way it's going to be, because when people are feared for their lives, they're going to point fingers. It's kind of like when people go to jail, when when a group does something, it's just the way it is, like P. Diddy, like when people get caught doing something, what happens? They all challenge each other, see, but in this time, when, imagine that's just for going to jail, that's just to go to jail for a little bit, people, what do? They challenge each other, they all get cutthroat, there's a lot of backstabbing, you know what I'm saying? So, so right here, imagine when these troops start, walking these streets, when these cities are under a martial law, and you have UN troops and stuff like that going around, New World Order police going around, sticking guns to people's heads. Oh, people are gonna turn each other in, real fast, real fast. Because one thing about the majority of people here, they don't know how death works. So the majority of people here, they're afraid to die. So when it comes down to that, they're gonna turn in their own family members. Some, of course, you're going to have some family members who are going to, stick up for one another, But that's not many. But are there going to be families out there to fight for, to help each other? Yes. But that number is small compared to the masses. Because the masses are going to, turn each other in. And that don't mean, just because I gave you that information, to go over there and look at your family all sideways. And no, treat your family right. You know what I'm saying? When that day happens, prophecy has to fulfill. You know what I'm saying? But, of course, treat your family good. You know what I'm saying? Just know that, these things may happen, It's just, we got to give you the general information, you know what I mean? Not just like, oh, hey, my family's going to turn on me, what, No, because some family members will have your back, but a lot are going to turn people in. And that's not even for people in the truth, too. Because the people in the truth, yeah, they're going to suffer, but that's just everybody out here in general. See that? And they shall fight everyone against his brother. So it doesn't even say, only my believers. No, everybody out here. See, everyone right here. And they shall fight everyone. So everybody is about to, it's about to go down out here. Everyone. Why? Because everyone's about to run out of food. Okay, they're about to have soldiers, dragging them out of their houses, separating their families, getting heads chopped off in the guillotines, which John the Revelator saw, Revelation chapter 20, verse 4. So everyone, see that? So it's not just persecution against the prophets and the believers. Oh no, everybody out here is about to go through it. Okay? Remember that. Everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor. Right. It's not only in your own household and your family, but even with your neighbors. Okay, people are gonna tell one another, right? Because once you have tanks on the street, soldiers on the street saying, "Hey, if you don't turn this person in, we're gonna take you in." You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's another thing. A lot of people are gonna get threatened by the New World Order soldiers and policemen. Oh yeah, because they might say, "Hey, we're looking for him or her. You better, if you don't turn them in, we're gonna bring you in." So there's gonna be a lot of that happening, a lot. Where family members are gonna give up different family members' locations. Some family members, they may hold it down. Let's say they're about to be shot in the head. Some family members may take the bullet. It's gonna go both ways. But one thing you gotta understand, because it says right here, and everyone against his brother. So it's not just the believers, okay? It's everyone's about to endure hardships, troubles, backstabbings, betrayals. Everybody. It's not just the men of the Lord and the believers, and the daughters of Zion. And everyone against his neighbor, city against city, right there, civil war, because people are going to be looking for your basic essentials. So, let's say right now, they declare martial law, they lock things down. Okay, once all the resources, food, and your basic essentials, you run out of that, after a city, runs out, what are they going to want to do? They're going to want to go to the next city, Prime example, if you guys ever seen that movie Book of Eli with Denzel Washington, okay, prime example right there, because what did he do? He had to keep on moving. They went from one city, and when one city was barren, waste, there was no resources, no nothing, they had to go to the next city. So that's what's going to happen, because these cities, once they're ransacked, because they will, remember, these stores are going to be emptied. These houses are going to be just ransacked, just through. So, once people are, waste a certain city, they're going to go to the next city, because it's just part of survival. Because once you run out of supplies, and, food, whatever, resources, ammunition, whatever, you're going to have to keep on moving. It's just the way it is. You can't just stay in one spot, because you'll just rot, unless you have a whole bunch of stuff, you know what I'm saying? But if not, you're gonna have to keep it moving, So right here, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, because that's civil war. All right, here in America, here we go, and kingdom against kingdom. So that's what we're witnessing right now. World War III. Okay, we're in the beginning of it. Kingdom against kingdom. Yeah, big kingdom. United States. Now they call them nations, countries, but it's basically a kingdom. You know what I'm saying? So nations, nations, countries against one another, which is World War III. So not only are you gonna have these wars going on within these cities, but you're gonna have these nations and countries going at it neck to neck with each other. Okay, so not only is it these cities, family members telling on one another, communities going at it with one another. You're gonna have these nations, which you can clearly see right now, going neck to neck. So the whole world's gonna be at war. Okay, the whole world's gonna be at war. See, verse 3, Isaiah chapter 19, verse 3. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. That's what's happening right now. The spirit of America, the pride of this place, because people know who are already watching. They already know, yup, this is the end. Even you have Americans out there. They even know, yup, this is the end of America. They even know, yup, war is coming. This is not the same no more. Everything's being destroyed. It's not like it used to be. Because you can clearly see. I mean, if you're watching, and you're paying attention, you can clearly see that, that this place is circling the drain. But those people who are just out there in La La Land, yeah, I mean, of course they're not going to see it, because they're being distracted, But, those who are watching, you can clearly see. Okay, you can clearly see that it's not looking good. It's no bueno. I will destroy the counsel thereof, because yeah, the Lord is going to show these leaders to be liars and stuff like that, that they're corrupt. Because I mean, of course, you may have some politicians, some rulers, well, people like in the government, you may have some that are righteous, but not many. The majority of them, they sold out, they're corrupt, but you do have a few, in there that are righteous, as far as like, trying to do the right things, what I'm saying. But the majority of them are gonna are liars, Remember what happened on the first shutdown when we had the first pandemic? They went to Nancy Pelosi's house. Remember that? Because people are finding out that these politicians and leaders are lying to them, that they don't really care for the people. Because these politicians and governors and city councils, whatever, that because they'll go on that podium and they'll say whatever, just to be elected, but they don't give a damn, So the Lord is exposing them too. Remember, during that first shutdown, they went to Nancy Pelosi's house. That's what's gonna happen. That's what's spoken about in 2nd Ezra chapter 15, and the what was that? I believe it was the 16th verse. Because they're not gonna people are not gonna regard their kings nor their princes, because people are gonna stop listening, to their leaders, their government and stuff like that, But that's gonna bring boots on the ground, martial law, because once these states, okay, and these cities can't control their population, that's it. That's when martial law is implemented, and they have to have the military come in, and control it. See that, and that's gonna happen because, it's not just saying that people are just gonna rebel just for the hell of it, but because they're going to have to, because there's gonna be no more food out here, no help out here, so people are gonna say, well, damn, we have to take man in our own hands because we're starving, like what's going on. So people are gonna want answers, people are gonna be like, well, what's going on? You're saying that this is an example, because people might say, well, damn, they're saying to stay in our house and that help is coming, but no help is coming. We're running out of food. I mean, what the hell? They're not even helping us. I have to go out there. That's just like an example. Because people are gonna be like, well, I gotta go out there. People are like, well, I gotta go out there and get something because the government's saying that they're gonna help, but there's no help coming. Because once people run out of food and stuff like that, that's it. That's it. So this is what you gotta understand, that people are going to lose it. So people are gonna take manners in their own hands. Isaiah chapter 19 verse 3. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. That's what's happening right now. The foundations of America is crumbling. Okay, it's failing. All right, because once again, the pride of this place is being brought down. Because people are not out there just kind of like partying and stuff like they used to, But why is that? Because of inflation. All right, because of they know that war is coming. All right, things are expensive. You guys ever seen that commercial out there? Rent is too damn high. See, so it's not just like, hey, let's just live our lives and have a good time. No, man. We're in a time where people are like, shit. They got their mind on just like, damn, man, how am I gonna pay rent? How am I gonna survive? It's either pay the electric bill or go get groceries for my family. People are making decisions like that. What I'm saying? There's a lot of people like that where it's just all about survival. Like, damn, just how am I gonna make it through this month? That's how it is right here. See that? So what's that word I'm looking for here? The mirth of this place is decreasing, so people are not as happy no more, because of course you still got people out there who are wealthy, still going out here to the malls and still doing whatever they gotta do, But a lot of people are actually suffering, struggling to, pay rent and stuff like that, and, make it, So that's it right here. Isaiah 19:3. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols. Okay, so right here, the Lord saying, since now this place is crumbling, what are the leaders of America doing? Check it out. Listen up. This is what they're doing. Okay, because now they're tripping out, And they shall seek to the idols, because they're not seeking to the Lord. They're not praying to the Lord like, hey, Lord, please help America. No, they're going to their idols. Check it out. Let's continue. Look at who else they go to. And to their charmers, and to them who have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. Right. Because they're going to who, ladies and gentlemen? The witches and warlocks. Okay, they're not going to the Lord. Okay, although Donald Trump, and that's a big time lie right there. He says that the Bible is his favorite book, the King James Version. Because he's a Satanist, straight up. Okay, Donald Trump is an Edomite. I don't care what anybody says. He's a Edomite. He's a Teman because he's German, so he's Teman. He's a straight Edomite. All right. That's another thing. You see, these leaders will go on commercials and the podium and say whatever they want, but they're not praying to the Lord, because the Lord would tell you, okay, you know what, the leaders, they felt like they messed up, so they're trying to repent, they're trying to reach out to me, so I'm going to give them a chance, No, the Lord's telling us right here what they're doing. See that? Because they may tell you one thing on the TV, and it's on just a commercial. That's a commercial. Remember, everything that this nation watches on the TV, the small hats control everything. Okay, they control everything. What information is being put out there? All right, facts. So the Lord's telling you, because the Lord would tell us right here. Okay, like, look, you know what? They're trying. You know what? Now they're admitting that they messed up. So they're trying to pray to me. They're trying to call out. They're trying to reach out. No, right here clearly tells us that they're going to the charmers, the idols, and to them that have familiar spirits, witches and warlocks. See, and to the wizards. See, because that's what this place looks up to. They on the back of the dollar bill it says, "In God we trust," right? They believe in Satan, okay, not the Lord, the God of the Bible, okay. They believe in Satan and Baphomet. That's 100%, ladies and gentlemen. See that? Because the Lord's clearly telling us, because if they were trying, like, oh, you know what, they're admitting that they made a mistake, and they're trying to repent. They're trying to reach out to me, so I'm going to kind of work with them a little bit. The Lord would tell us, but the Lord's telling us right here that they're going to the wizards and them that have familiar spirits. It's right here, it's plain. Verse 4, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, because that is Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump, he's going to be very cruel to the people. He's going to bring in martial law. He's going to bring in those executive orders, draconian laws and legislatives. He wants to bring group executions and all that. Right away. What did he do? He started deporting people right away. And it's only going to get worse and worse. See? And a fierce king shall rule over them, said the Lord of hosts. See that? So that's what's going to happen. Okay, he ain't feeling he ain't feeling, like all, he ain't feeling all like oh, you know what, this is right, this is wrong, See, he's even making enemies with people in the world, Look at how many more enemies America has now. You see? They have much more enemies. So now, and he don't care, he ain't like, he don't make his decisions and like, oh damn, I messed up, I shouldn't have said. Nah, he's over here, he don't give a damn. He's telling people that they're either gonna get down or lay down, just like that, So he's perfect to bring in chaos, he's perfect. The Lord's creation is always perfect. Okay, remember the elites selected Trump, but who created Trump? Okay, who created the elites? Who's putting it in these minds to do what they're doing? The Lord. So it's all being orchestrated from the Lord. Because Donald Trump is your perfect candidate to bring chaos. I mean, see, because he'll go on there, he'll say whatever the hell. He don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? He don't give a damn shit. He's over here making enemies with everybody with a smile, like, fuck it. You know, he don't give a damn. He's perfect for destruction and chaos. You know, and he don't give a damn either. Because he don't even feel some type of way about it. Like, damn, like I'm going too far. No, he don't give a rat's ass. But that's perfect. You know, because that's going to bring in, you know, this, more division, that now America has more enemies. See that? So that he is helping to destroy America. So shit, we're over here, we're cheering him on. Like, go for it, Trump, do your thing, shit. You know? Do your thing, Trump. DJ, my boy Trump, you know, DJ Trump, stirring it up, doing what he does best. You know, he don't waste no time. Now he's about to crash that dollar bill. Shit, he knows exactly what he's doing. You know, he's perfect. You know, because he ain't somebody who wastes his time. You know, look at, since he's been in there, look at everything that he's done so far. You know, shit, he's going at it. But that's the spirit of the Lord on him, but on the left hand side. Because he ain't wasting no time. You know, he ain't like, okay, well, let's take our time. And no, as soon as he got in there, he started deporting the Israelites right away, you know. That's just to show you, who is these Edomites' target. Us, the Israelites. Because as soon as he went in there, who did he go after right away? The Israelites. He didn't waste no time. You know, he didn't be like, okay, well, I'll get them, you know, when I get time to, you know. Nah, he went right after them first, you know. Just to show you that the Edomites are coming for you Israelites. Okay, first he went for the migrants. Okay, second he's coming for the citizens. You know, just because you're an American citizen don't mean nothing. Okay, if you're an Israelite, you are a target. Okay, remember, the elites are coming for your lives. Okay, you guys may think, oh no, they ain't gonna do that. Good luck. You know, good luck. Remember, because these elites, they know who you are. And remember, they want that birthright that we got. See that? And they're still mad about that. They don't give a damn how we break it down. Like, oh, well, you know, Esau is really Cain back in the reincarnation. They don't give two shits. All they know is we're coming for the Israelites. They don't give a shit. You know, because we could break it down to them in the scriptures, show them that, look, you know, what Cain did wasn't right and all that. Nah, they don't give a damn. All they know is we're coming for the Israelites. You know, and we're going to try to take out every last one of you sons of bitches. You know, they don't care what story or how you break it down. That goes in through one ear, out the other. All they know is it's war, you know, because they want their birthright. This is something that you got to understand how the elites think. You think they give a damn how it's broken down? You know, they don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? They're pushing for their new world order and that's it. You know, either people are going to get down or lay down. You know, and these top elites and their minds, you know, for the Israelites, you think they're like, okay, well, damn, yeah, you know what, they're gonna rule next, and you know, damn, you know what, we were kind of hard on them, huh? You know, like, yeah, you guys deserve it. Here, no, they're like, hell no, you know, and their mind, they're like, I'm killing everybody, you know, I'm coming for every last one of you sons of bitches, you know. They don't give a damn how it's broken down, you know. Shit, you kidding me or what? You know? Well, you kidding me or what, man? So now let's go to, and that's for reals. You know, we're kind of just making a little funny here, a little, you know, joke, but that's serious. You know, that's real. You know, the top elites, they're not taking that as a joke at all. You know, they take that very, very seriously. Very, very seriously. All right, that's something that, you know, because they may show you like, oh, they're not too bothered by it. But in their minds, they're like, hell no, this is my house, you know? And we're gonna take out all the Israelites. We don't give a damn how, you know, we're gonna do it. It's for real. In their mind, that's what they're thinking, you know? Because they may not show you that, of course, because they're Satanists. They're professional liars. Okay, remember that. But in their mind, they're like, I'm killing everybody. And for real, you know, this shit, you know, they're really pissed off about that. You know, so, you know, they may tell you, oh, nah, but they're not. They're not going to show you. Remember, they're professional liars. They're Satanists. And they'll keep that lie to their grave. They're not going to admit nothing. That's the way they are. They're not going to tell you that. It's just the way the Edomites work. All right. 2nd Ezra chapter 13. And let's go down here. Let me see here. Where's that scripture at? Oh, right here. Okay, so 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 30. Second Ezra chapter 30, chapter 13. 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 30 and 31. And he shall come to the astonishment. Oh, you know what? Let's start at the 29th verse. Salak. 29th verse. Behold, the days come when the Most High Yahweh will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth. Because, remember, it's not all doom and gloom. These elites want to exterminate the Israelites, but so what? The angels are here. Yahweh Shai is in the midst out here. Remember, there's a right-hand side. There's two sides, not just the left-hand side is going to devour everybody. No. Okay? Something you got to really understand here. Alright? They're not just going to devour everybody. No, the right-hand side's out here. You see those spaceships? The so-called UFOs? Okay, our enemies, they can't even touch them. You know what I'm saying? So remember that. Remember that to you righteous out there, Don't be overwhelmed, because, it could get to you. You're like, oh, damn, They're going to try to exterminate us and all that. But remember, there's help out here. Remember that. There's a right-hand side out here. Remember, So you guys have help. For those of you that believe in the Lord, remember that. You're not alone, okay? You have help. A lot of help. Okay? More than you know. Alright? And that's facts right there, baby. You're not alone. You're not alone. Let these eat, let them, It's just for your information. But don't get all worked up and let these elites roll, So they can get bitch slapped by the angels. Facts, let them jump, Let them get angry. The more angry they get, the harder the beatdown they're going to get. Let them get upset. It's alright. With their goofy asses. Let them get red. Let them. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid of these red lobsters. You know what I'm saying? These raviolis. Let them get mad. Let them jump. Remember, the sooner they jump, the sooner they get their ass kicked. Facts. Verse 31. Verse 30. And he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. Because, now these leaders, a lot of people, now they're witnessing what? The so-called UFOs. Okay? The so-called spaceships. See that? Now the world is seeing them. They're like, oh, snap. That power is real, Like, oh, damn. See? Because spiritual power is no joke. It's much stronger than carnal power. And our enemies cannot destroy it. They have no weapon to destroy it. So right now, our enemies, they're tripping out. They're like, damn. They may not show you, but they're freaking out. Because they're like, because one thing about war, it brings reality. Because in their mind, they're like, they know, like, damn, like, what can we do? So that's why our enemies are tripping. They're mad and stuff like that. They want to roll, but, at the end of the day, you don't think it's on their mind, like, damn, Oh, hell yeah. Because war, I don't care how you put it, Because if you're about to die, and especially these people, because they don't really understand death. So you don't think they're tripping? Why do you think these elites take adrenochrome and all that? Because they don't want to die. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people think too, like, oh, once you die, that's it. You only live once. So a lot of these people are retarded out here. So they don't even know how death works. So they're tripping. They're tripping, you guys. Believe me. All right, more than you know. They may not show it like, oh, it's gonna be all right. No, they're tripping. They're scared. Of course they're mad at the same time, and they're gonna roll. But at the same time, they're tripping. Like, they know, like, damn, like, they know, like, it's their end. Because, like, when it's your end, like, that's in the back of their mind. Of course they're mad. They're gonna roll. They want to kill as much as people as they could. But in the back of their mind, they know, like, like, this is the end. Like, they know it, So you don't think that's bothering them? Shit, yeah. Especially them, because they're afraid to die. Because they don't really understand how death works. all these Satanists, Anton LaVey, Aleister Crowley, they're all tripping on their deathbed, you know? Because, yeah, these devils, that's one thing, you know? They're real quick to sacrifice a baby and do sacrifices and all that, but when it comes down to them, these dudes are tripping. You know, why do you think the elites are over here drinking blood and all that? Because they're like, shit, we got to stay alive, you know? See? Huh? So you don't think they're tripping? Oh, hell yeah. Why do you think these dudes are going underground and building robots and all that, you know? Because they're like, shit, we got to stay alive out here, you know? For real. And that's for real. 2nd Ezra chapter 13 verse 31. And one shall undertake to fight against another. Here's the point. Okay, going back into that civil war. And one shall undertake to fight against another, because people are gonna, you know, throw each other underneath the bus. Alright? And one shall undertake to fight against another, because people are gonna backstab each other. There's gonna be a lot of betrayals. Remember that. You have nothing but spies watching spies out here. You got clones out here. I mean, you got a lot, okay? It's just what it is. You got a lot of teams out here from all sides. Okay, you got teams out here from Russia, teams out here from the New World Order, teams out here, you know, from China, teams out here from, you know, there's a lot. You just have a lot of teams out here. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? From all sides. So there's going to be a lot of betrayals. One city against another, civil wars, remember? One place against another. One place that's World War III, okay, like America versus Russia, like that, you know? One people against another. Okay, very important right there. One people against another, that's a race war, because the so-called white man, you don't think that they're hearing right now? Yeah, they're hearing. You don't think that they're hearing that they're going to go into slavery and all that? So all these people that are part of these teams, you know, yeah, they may be part of those teams, but once the war starts, they're like, hey, whites, we're going to stick with whites. You know, they may be cool with Jake right now, but in their minds, if they're hearing this information, which a lot of them are, they're like, shit, we're going to go into slavery? Well, shit, we got to stick with our kind, you know? Because they may be cool with your teams right now, but when the bullets start to fly, shit, they're going to stick with whitey. You know, they're going to be like, whites, we're going to stay with whites. So there's going to be a lot of segregation going on, a lot of separation. Because they may act cool like, oh, nah, don't worry, you guys. We're not like that. We're with the team. Shit. Yeah, right, you know? Because when they go home, they're having conversations among themselves. Like, hey, we're going to slavery. Trip out. Like, hey, fuck that, you know? They're probably like, well, we may be part of this team, but, you know, when bullets start to fly, we're going with the whites. You know, we're going with our own kind. And there's a lot of that happening right now. There's a lot of that happening right now. Alright, so because there's going to be a lot of betrayals in these teams. Remember, like that movie, The Matrix? All it takes is one person to betray that team, and that whole team is screwed. You know, because they know your locations, where the boss is, who the boss is, where you live, where your base is at, your weapons. So all these teams, you know, all you need is one person to betray you, and that whole team is screwed. You know? Damn. One people against another, and here we go, here's the kicker, and one realm against another, because the chariots of Israel, the so-called UFOs, are coming from a whole nother realm, you guys. Not just another planet, you know? No, a whole nother realm. They're coming from the fourth dimension. And that's literally. So with that, that's it on today's lesson on Civil War. Lord willing, you guys, you know, learn, you know, a little something here today. We're edified and faith boosted. So with that, keep the faith, stay strong. Hold it down, you guys. On your feet, soldier. Shalom.